For a second episode, I'm joined by someone truly exceptional, not just as a leader, but as a dear friend. Our guest is a serial entrepreneur with a deep rooted background in IT, now leading the charge in product tech. She's transformed multiple ideas into reality. She mentors aspiring entrepreneurs and is the author of the book Navigating the Future, AI, and the New Era of Product Management. I'm so excited to have her today to explore her journey from IT to product leadership and beyond, while also diving into what's really happening in the world of AI and how AI is not just changing industries, but also shaping belief systems. And most importantly, how can we all stay sane through it? With so much rapid change, how do we stay grounded, adaptable, and in control of our own narrative? So let's get to it. Welcome to the show, Amrit Kaur Lotay. Hi.
Hi, Shita. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I think it's great to kind of share each other's ideas and have a conversation about this ever-changing landscape that all of us are facing. Every generation is, trying to keep up with things. So yeah, I'm excited to get into a bit more detail about this.
I am stoked. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And it's a second one. And I'm really excited about having this conversation with you today.
Me too.
Great. So, how do we start? Shall we start about how you started your career in IT? And back in the day, it was all a very male dominated industry. So, yeah, tell me
Yeah.
about
Sure. So I never had plans, firstly, to join the tech world in any shape or form. In fact, when you're at school and educating, nobody really steers you in the direction of the tech, side of things. So I never had any guidance or kind of push into this direction. So I actually graduated as an economist. And after graduating, I was like, right, what next? I was working at a local council at the time. It was great because, I was first starting my career out and I was making a little bit of money, but I felt there was something missing. It's not where I want to be. I was a little bit more ambitious. And so I wanted to do something a bit more exciting. And that led me into the world of teaching. Don't ask me why, how, what, but anyway, I ended up teaching teenagers. And I think that kind of gave me an insight into a world that was rewarding, but at the same time, very challenging and difficult. And also showed me that actually this is not where I want to be.
it.
So I then had the opportunity to work in accounting. No offense to any accountants, but I hated it. So after this, I was applying for jobs and I got an invitation for an interview for an IT job. And I thought, okay, all the places I've worked, whether it's a council or in the accounting firm, people used to come to me and ask me questions about how to navigate different things on the computer and help them out with things. Only because I was sort of recently graduated, so they assumed I knew more than they did, which I was happy to help them. I'm a quick learner and I like to solve problems. So I thought, okay, I've never thought about the tech world and nobody's ever mentioned this. I didn't even think it was an opportunity for me, but I was very intrigued. So I went along to this interview and it was actually it was a set of IT courses and then with a guaranteed job at the end. So it wasn't exactly a job, but I thought this sounds really exciting and it's an area that I don't know about, but I'm keen to understand and learn. So I signed up for the course and it cost me a lot of money. I did change my mind after a few days, but at that time I was already in a contract and I couldn't get my money back. So I had a choice. I either lose all the money I'd paid or I just go ahead with this and see where I end up. So I did a few of the exams. I started off sort of like just doing at the time, I think it's still called the A plus, and then there was a networking side. So learning about the physical elements of computers, how you put them together, and then also the software side. Then moved into the networking, and at the time I think it was Windows 2003. So 2003, yeah. So I learned from that side as well. But I thought, okay, if I carry on doing all this learning, it's going to be at least over a year before I even get the guaranteed job kicking in. So I wanted to put some of this theory into practice. So I started applying for my own IT jobs. And I landed my first job with Western Union. It's a foreign exchange company. I'm sure many have heard of it. And I'm I never looked back ever since. So I was just like, I have landed exactly where I want to be. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing because I love the problem solving side of things. And so it was like anytime somebody had an issue with something, I was like, right, I'll investigate and I'll fix this. And I really found like, okay, this is where I want to be in life. So yeah, so my tech career kind of took off from there. So I was there for 8 years and then moved. And by the time I'd sort of finished there, I'd moved into leading the entire tech team. So yeah, that kind of moved me into the world of management from there.
Amazing. And how was it being a woman in IT?
So it was quite daunting, but what gave me the encouragement was that when I was interviewed for this role, it was actually the head of IT was a woman. Surprising. The entire team was male dominated, but the head was a woman. And I just thought, wow, okay, this is great. And she really encouraged me to, get involved in different things. In fact, 6 months into joining Western Union, one of the guys who was heading up the telecom side of things left. And she immediately said to me, Amrit, you're going to be looking after the telecom side. So I really had to like dive in the deep end here. And yeah, and she gave me the opportunities I wanted. I'm not sure how my male counterparts felt about that, but I certainly didn't look back and I didn't think twice about it. I was like, I'm getting to learn more. This is really exciting. And yeah, just see where this takes me. But it was really encouraging that there was a woman who interviewed me and she was heading up the team. So it gave me hope that actually there is space for women.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like, nobody made me feel uncomfortable. Everyone was actually out there to help. So all the guys I was working with were very helpful. And that kind of encouraged me to stay. Had that been a different experience, I could probably be in a different industry today. But
Yeah, no, I suppose, and this is my belief that if women stick together and we kind of support each other, we can change the world, I feel. Because even in the law industry, my managers or my seniors were female lawyers. And they actually helped me like buckle up and they're so professional. I'm not saying male on, but I just find that women just get things done.
I mean, it is. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't always roses. There was, and I think a lot of that was down to my own imposter syndrome or self confidence because it was an industry that, although I'd done a few exams in and I'd got some experience in, I was still starting out in a very unknown environment.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, okay, I'm the different one here. How am I going to? Because I'm not at that leadership level where I've got the authority and people will take me seriously. But at the same time, like you do feel like an outsider in some conversations. Like, do
Yeah.
I know enough? Should I say this or will I sound stupid? Do I actually know what I'm talking about? And then when somebody else says the exact same thing and you're like, oh, so I could have said, I could have spoken up. So yeah, so it was kind of like having to prove yourself a little bit more in this male dominated environment. And I think I learned a lot from that. Definitely made me more resilient.
Cool. So, what would be your advice to say someone who belongs to Gen Z and Gen Alpha kids who are growing up? Because these days the industries are evolving and shifting. It's not the traditional jobs that we used to have accounting, law, software engineer. There are a lot of coders, like kids are being taught coding in schools and colleges. So, what would your piece of advice would be for a Gen Z who wants to kind of follow your path, for instance?
Yeah. I think the path is already changing. So I think I'll probably start off by saying that I, it's making me more worried about where I am today because there are people half my age or younger who are absolutely brilliant at coding, who really understand, who've had the opportunity to educate in this field right from the get go. If you look at the kids that are in primary school now, they're coding, they're doing everything digitally, whether it's their homework, they're submitting it digitally, whether it's their parents who are trying to help them with things or contact the schools, it's all digital. And so the whole landscape has changed now, very different from when I started. Like I said, nobody encouraged me to move into the world of tech. In fact, it was almost like, no, no, that's a male thing. The guys will do the tech side of thing, the girls can do other things. So now that's changing. I met a friend recently and her son, I think was 9, and she was showing me a mobile game he'd built. And
Oh,
I
wow.
was like, wow, I mean, that's like impressive. Now, at 9 years old, he's building a mobile game. If I had to build a mobile game today, I would know probably where to start, but I don't think I'd be able to complete it to the level he did. So things are changing, and I encourage youngsters of today to really follow that path because that's where the new landscape is. Everything is becoming digital. As you know, from 2023, AI really took off. Like it became something that everyone in most households was like getting familiar with. It's now in their hands. Take ChatGPT, and then you can see like more recently in current times, there's Chinese companies who've launched their own AI platforms and stuff for half the cost and much faster. So things are changing rapidly. So now, building a game is something I could probably just type a line into one of these platforms and it will build it for me. I actually don't need to have the deep knowledge of coding to do this. So it's all changing. And I think that's what the next generation have to really be on top of. It's like how can they use the changing landscape in tech to really flourish their careers, whether it's some businesses or ideas they've got that they want to launch. I
Mm.
think we're going to start seeing much younger entrepreneurs appearing. Well, very different from today, from well, while I was graduating and starting my career out. So yeah, and now I'm competing with 9-year-old.
So you've transitioned into, obviously you're an entrepreneur, you've started and built several businesses, and I know all the interactions I've had with you, most of them like I've got an idea, I need to write it down, I need to build this thing. So, and it's really exciting to see you do that. So when you moved to product tech, you've written a book about it. I want you to tell us a bit more about the book and also how important do founders need to incorporate tech into their businesses? What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. So I think there were a couple of questions in that. So I mean, I guess the transition from tech to product, it came quite smooth. So it was tech is more like how to keep current products running, maintaining them and improving them iteratively. But then product is really deciding what to build. So as you said, yeah, I always have different ideas. So as I'm navigating through life and I'm like, oh, this is missing. Oh, is there something out there already? No, there isn't. Actually, can I build this? And then
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, I go down that path. Like, okay, if I had to build this, what would I do? Where would I start? How easy or difficult would it be for me to do? A lot of tech is commoditized now, so it's easier to navigate this world, especially if you have ideas. There's a lot of off-the-shelf products you can sort of put together in a modular fashion, and you'll be able to launch something pretty quickly. And so really getting into the strategy of the products that are being built, working with different teams very closely to understand the people, the business, the strategy, and the tech. That kind of helped me land in that product space. And I loved it because rather than just being not isolated, but sort of just being part of a tech team, I was now part of the entire business because it was about the product we're launching or the products or services that are being launched and really understanding what we're building, why we're building it, and making sure that there's a real need for it in the market. So this led me into areas like health tech, which is very prominent at this point, fintech as well. So all your financial technology from like digital banking. So there's it's opened up so many doors in that world because now there's so many new and exciting products that are yet being built, but also you can see how they're changing entire industries. Like with health, I recently had an issue with my health and I went to the doctors and they were trying to guess what it was. Eventually they diagnosed me and I was treated for it. After my treatment, I actually thought, now that I've been through that journey, let me go to something like ChatGPT and see if it can diagnose me just based on my symptoms if I enter them into the platform. And surprisingly, the very first thing that came up was the actual diagnosis that my doctor had done. And I got this within seconds. So you can just see now, would I, next time I have a problem, do you think I'm going to pick up the phone to my doctor, or do you think I'm going to go to ChatGPT to see if I can figure out what it is? I know we were able to do this with Google, and doctors really don't like it when we Google something and then go to them and say, well, Google said XYZ. But now it's like actually, these AI platforms are really, really getting better and better at understanding problems, and they can look at things from a big scale within seconds. So you're likely, and I'm not saying that they are correct, not undermining any doctors in any way, but I do feel that the way we do things is now changing. They've got clinics in a box. So you can go in and it's just run by AI where you can just be examined, get a full body examination, and it will tell you about your vitals, what's missing, your bloods, all of that kind of stuff. And it gives you an entire full diagnosis of what's going on, which I think is required. So AI is changing things. The way we do banking, the way we move money, the way we invest, all of that is changing. And I think it's a great thing. And that's why I love being in the product world, because you really get to see these products come to life and get to shape them along the way as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, understanding business, customers, tech all in one space kind of led me into this product world. And I love the challenge as well.
That's incredible. And like you said, all these industries are changing. And I feel even the education system is changing. There won't be teachers anymore. It's all going to be robots teaching because there's already a school in the UK that's doing it. And I don't think we're far from AI already coming into our lives and kind of, well, I don't like it, like them dominating us. But do you think that'll be a scenario in the future where we'll be dominated by AI?
Yeah, I think we are heading in that direction. And I do feel that every single industry is going to be impacted. I know we've had this conversation before about law and the legal world and how AI is impacting that. But I think what people need to understand and probably don't want to grasp this just yet, but AI is moving faster than ever. It's going to change things very, very rapidly. So, where people think we've got 10 years before we see things, it's definitely not 10 years anymore. I'm talking about like, one tenth of that time. You're going to see rapid changes. And like you mentioned, the education system, children are going to be learning from AI teachers. And as you know, when ChatGPT first launched, the classrooms and universities and everyone just went crazy because now people are submitting homework and essays using ChatGPT. And then, the legal consequences as well. Like if I'm using ChatGPT to do my research or write things for me, where is it getting this information from? Am I infringing copyright? There are I think the delay around AI is gonna be around the regulatory side, the compliance side, the legal side, because I don't think they can move as fast
Yeah.
as the way technology is moving. So that's going to be a massive challenge, and that might slow things down slightly, but I think as we can see now, those areas are having to play catch up with tech,
Yeah.
and it's moving faster than ever.
Yeah, that's always the case with legal. I think policy always tries to catch up with innovation and new advancements in technology. But I think Europe is the front runner when it comes to GDPR and all. They are the
Yeah.
first to legislate. They've already legislated on AI, and other countries are still deciding on policy. So that's always the case with law.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, and I've worked in the Middle East as well, and they look to Europe to see what the policies are there first. So I think Europe does all of the testing. They're the testing ground, and then once they've got it right, that's when the rest of the world kind of look to Europe and say, "Okay, they've done this. We just copy and paste it now for our regions." Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
because
it's always playing catch up. And it always will because it's just moving too rapidly. And you probably know in like the legal field, I think Sprint Law is using AI as well. So you're triaging your first set of customers just using AI to start with. And that's going to improve over time. And then it'll be like, well, what happens to everyone's jobs in the company?
so I know. I actually asked my co-founder that question. I'm like, "Are you trying to make us redundant?" But the answer is no. He also believes that's going to take a while for kind of to
But
take a
do
role.
you think it's impacted the hiring though? Like, would they be more reluctant to hire now because they're training up these AI models to learn like humans? And a lot of legal stuff is referencing cases in the past. And if
Yes.
these cases are available, whether it's internally to your organization or externally public cases, it's learning rapidly and can probably respond much quicker. So, yeah, I wonder if it's impacting the hiring scenario at Sprintl.
And not at this stage. It's still learning, and I think it's not very accurate because I've used ChatGPT, I've used Gemini, I've used our own bot as well. And it gives you the answer. It knows like a basic thing, but if you need a more of an expert advice, then you still need to speak to a proper lawyer, right? A human lawyer, I would say. It will catch up. So I think there's a book called Tomorrow's Lawyers, and it kind of tells you that unless you are specialized in your field, like if you're a data analyst or specifically you are consuming due diligence documents, or if you're an expert, your industry. So if you're in competition, any industry to do with like GDPR, like you're an expert in that, or if you're an transaction lawyer expert there, and host of other industries, right? Then you will survive. But otherwise, it's going to wipe out that lower layer.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're in a we're in a world today where there's no guarantee,
Mm,
especially when it comes to jobs. I think the landscape is changing. Like we know, there's if we just look at influencers, for example, you've got kids who are producing content and becoming millionaires just by doing very simple tasks or daily tasks. And they've got a huge audience watching them, whether it's eating food, whether it's unpacking boxes, and they're making their millions.
yeah,
And then there's the rest of us who have sort of really worked hard in our education careers and tried to build something for us and we struggle to get to that level. So it's almost like we're having to play catch up.
yeah,
And it is changing. So jobs are very different now. It wasn't, before, like the generation, my parents' generation, if they got a job in a company, they would stay there until, retirement. They'd be there for 25, 30 years and it was normal. But now my generation, I've noticed, kind of move jobs every few years
yeah,
because they want something different. They want to learn more. They want new challenges, and not just in the same industry. They're jumping from industry to industry,
yeah,
yeah. And it's becoming it's changing rapidly, and I think AI is having a huge impact. Like over the last 2 years, just the job market has been absolutely crazy. So one, there's been a lot of layoffs
yeah,
from companies. So there's a lot more people in the market looking for work. And again, those things are due to AI, that technology taking over. Now we don't need as many
yeah.
humans. It's cheaper, it's faster to run a machine than it is to hire a human. And there's no like production loss or anything unless obviously a system goes down. But again, compared to humans, businesses who are just thinking about, profit and loss statements or their bottom line, it's about money. And if they can make savings by swapping a human out with technology, that's what they'll do. And that's business. But unfortunately, that leaves a huge market of people out there looking for work. And now, when you're applying for a job, it's been out for less than an hour and you've had hundreds of applicants because there's so many people looking for work right now. And so now everyone's competing with each other and the jobs aren't coming out as fast as, they need to in order to, help many people out. But it's just the way things are changing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's scary to see the disruption. Like you mentioned, these influencers, they've disrupted the traditional way of working or the traditional landscape, job
Yeah.
landscape.
Sorry.
And I want to know, which side of AI are you on? Does it scare you? You are in the tech industry, right? And you are creating these products and you know about these issues. And there is this whole aspect of anxiety, stress in people because they have this fear that how are they going to kind of make ends meet, right? So I want to know, where are you with AI? What's your view?
Okay. I'm pro AI, and but I just want to caveat that with I'm pro responsible AI
Right.
because with any technology, it can be misused. But if we look at the benefit side of it, I think, like I gave the example of my health, if I can get diagnosed that quickly within seconds, and I'm not saying that, it's accurate, but it's given me a direction to follow. And I'm more likely to use that path again the next time I have any kind of issue. That's it's benefiting me. Yes, it doesn't help my doctor because I'm coming with my own diagnosis before I see my doctor. And I'm still seeing my doctor at this stage, just to make sure that I get through the right channels if I need to be hospitalized, etc. But just the starting point is changing. So I would rather look at AI to diagnose me today than speak to my doctor because I can't get an appointment with my doctor right now for at least a week, if not longer. And I want answers today because I've got the problem today. And
Yeah.
so if we use it in the right way, if it's going to speed up things like helping patients, there's going to be less deaths in the future because we're able to diagnose. We're able to, as you know, there's surgery being done by robots now. So we're not relying on a surgeon who's been working a 12-hour day, who's exhausted, and then has to begin another day again. Just like that, the room for error is minimized. All of that kind of stuff I think is absolutely brilliant and is going to change lives for the better. Even from a finance perspective, the fact that we can see what our personal finance management is, how we're spending 1 month to the other, and a comparison between the two, all of that kind of stuff is going to help us because we don't like it will avoid us ending up in huge debts in life and all of that because we're learning. So that
Mm.
the literacy side of it is brilliant, and I think everyone should know how they're spending money. And a lot of people get scared to look at the figures or dive deeper into what's happening because, they just feel like it's an ever growing mountain, and they just don't know how to fix this. But those kind of products will start to help and educate people.
Yes.
So I think there's those kind of areas are brilliant. Even education, getting access to information that you would not have had access to before, whether you'd have to sit in a library and search through hundreds of books before you got that content, is now available in seconds using an AI platform. So that's changing things rapidly. The problem we're going to have is that there are going to be people who are going to misuse this. So whether there's misinformation that's spread, we won't know the difference.
Yeah.
As you know, like if you go onto any of the social media platforms today, they're using algorithms in the background to show you content. So if you click on content that is about, I don't know, say you're having a baby and you start looking at content about pregnancy or babies, and all of a sudden, you'll start to get more and more adverts and more content on your feed about this particular subject. There's been a case in the past where well, the reason we have to opt in and opt out of, consenting these kind of things now is because there was an example of a lady who was doing exactly this. She was having a baby, she was searching this content and then miscarried. And so, but she was still being shown the same content because the algorithm wouldn't know that. So she's constantly getting shown ads for baby products or videos about babies. And this really affected her mental health. So there was a case, and all sorts of things came out from that case where, yeah, actually now you have to consent whether you want your data to be shared, etc., and be able to remove yourself from that should you need to.
Yes.
So there are things that we're learning as we're going along, but there are going to be things where we don't know if the propaganda that we see, is it something that somebody's instigated manually to feed this into the world? Do we know what we're really consuming? Is it accurate information? If I think about my parents, like they're sending me videos about health stuff all the time. How do we know that these people are genuinely educated in this space, who are giving genuine advice that things won't go wrong if you start following these areas? How do
Yeah.
you, because they become influencers, but influencers are by a number of people that follow you or like or engage with your content. But they have bots to do that too. So how do you know that if somebody's saying to you, okay, if you've got a heart issue, take this vitamin and it will fix it. But how do you know that that's the correct information, firstly? How do you know that's not going to have an impact on you? And also, you might be taking other medication and stuff where it might counteract and all the rest. So it's just so difficult, but it's the kind of information we're consuming. So I just feel like I am pro AI. I think it's going to do some really amazing things and make our lives better in ways. But I feel from a mental health perspective, it could have an impact because, like I said, we're not going to know whether what we're consuming is correct. We're not going to know what to follow. There's going to be so much information overload that
Yeah.
people are going to start burning out and switching off. And that's my worry.
Yeah. I think it's already there. People are mindlessly scrolling, and then I see a lot of people around me, they are either depressed or super anxious. So there are issues already there. And which is why I wrote The Inner Circuit, is because I want people to know that you are enough. You just need to take control of your mind, your emotions, understand how it works, and then deal with situations objectively. So yeah, and also not just that aspect. I think that is impacting their confidence in the sense that people are started to compare themselves with other people, constantly posting stories and reels and all of that. So it there is a competition. You have your actual life in the background, and then you have a life on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, chat, or whatever. And people are constantly comparing and getting anxious about, oh, they need to catch up, right? There's FOMO about this. What's next I need to post? I'm eating, I'm posting something. I'm going somewhere, I'm posting something. It's fun. Yeah, you want to share information, cool. But you don't have that constant need to keep posting. Research has shown that there is a dopamine kick, right? By posting and getting that validation, those likes and those comments. It's impacting people, and people are starting to realize that. So you've started a project with confidence, right? Inner and outer.
Mhm.
So tell us more about that. And I also want to know, that okay, let's talk about that first.
Sure. So, I think when it comes to confidence, just on that point, AI can boost confidence because it can enhance your like productivity. Like you can do things faster. Like I find a lot of the people I'm speaking to now, entrepreneurs that I'm helping out from a product perspective, I can do things in hours versus weeks and months. So it's really given me that confidence. When somebody asks me a question and they need some document, I can knock that out so quickly now. So that gives me confidence because when they read these documents, they're like, wow, how did you do this so fast? But so that it can boost your confidence, but also it can create like unrealistic expectations. So like, oh, I have to always have the perfect filter on. I have to always look good, and no one can see my flaws. Or if it's job hunting, for example, my CV has to be perfect. There's all these expectations that people are putting on themselves, or everyone's posting, so I need to post something. By the way, I tried this, not on a personal level, but on a professional level that I'm going to get onto this because I need the algorithms to work, I need to start boosting my business. And so from that perspective, but I couldn't keep up with it. Like I know there's AI tools out there that can now manage your schedules and create posts for you and all the rest, and which I think is brilliant because that will boost productivity again for me and give me that confidence. But at the same time, the time I was spending trying to create these posts and try and keep up that I've got to post every day or at certain times of the day. And it was just getting too much. I was getting overwhelmed by that. So I was then thinking, okay, I can't push my business because I don't have time to do that. I could have hired an agency or a person to do this for me, 100% yes. But I tried to do it myself first. And I was just like, okay, this is a full time job in itself with the confidence side of the business. So, yes, me and my sister started a company called The Confidence 360. And the idea of this is she works in NHS and mental health and has done for the last 10 years. And I've done a lot of work in fashion and also from an image consultant perspective. So I'm qualified from there. And I was just saying to her that I think we need to bring these two worlds together. We need to look at humans holistically. There is an outer side to humans, there is an inner side to humans, and we need to look at that as a whole. And sometimes that outer can affect our confidence, and sometimes our inner affects our confidence. And this could be in all areas of your life. So if you look at the wheel of life, or your health, your career, your finances, your relationships, your mental health, all of that kind of encompasses as one in a human. So how can we help boost people's confidence inside and out? Not look at them separately, but kind of bring that together. And so
Yeah.
that's how Confidence 360 came about. And it was also based on like programs I used to watch when I was a kid, when I used to see these like transformations of people and the confidence it gave them, like how they used to light up when they used to see this new version of themselves, although that was focused on the outer side. But it just made me feel so happy that I could see how happy that person and how confident they had become. So for me, it was like, we need to bring this back. So rather than just watching reality TV now and watching all these celebrities sort of and their lives, I think
Yeah.
it's really important to actually see transformations and how people can work on themselves to make themselves better. Yes, there will be some kind of AI involvement in this product as well, because how can we help people faster? The kind of questions we need to ask them, the packages we need to create for them. How can we use AI to help us do these things? How can we look at somebody's body and analyze them from a health perspective or a confidence perspective or a physical perspective, anything? There's so many things you can use AI for, but we want to keep the human element there as much as we can too. We don't want it to be about a computer's making all the decisions for you, because we feel right now we can't personalize these as much as we'd like to. But I'm not saying in the future that won't change, because as AI evolves, it might be something we'd have to consider as well to stay and keep up with the market too.
Yeah, I think as humans, it's kind of an evolution for us as well because all our lives since the time we've been born, we've been around humans. Like me as a millennial, I had computers, desktops at that time, and now we have laptops and mobile phones. So we have technology around us, but we're not used to having like robots, moving robots around us. So it's like another person, artificial, but another person. So yeah, I mean, it's forward. I think we humans will need to evolve from this, and we will,
Yeah,
as
definitely.
Tom
And
says.
just speaking about robots, I mean, come on, I want a robot to cook for me. You know, cooking is something I don't enjoy.
Yeah,
So if I had a robot that cooked my meals for me and made me like, healthy, nutritious meals, so I'm not reaching for the first bit of junk I can find. Oh, brilliant. That's going to help me and that's going to hopefully improve my health and well-being too. So there are benefits to having robots. If I can get some time back and have a robot clean my home for me, like of course I would use that. But also if you think about like the aging population who are living on their own, if they had companions as robots, just to somebody to, a robot to talk to and get responses as if they're talking to a real human that they might not have access to right now, I think it can really help their mental health as well. So
yeah,
they're not sort of sat just thinking in their own minds and building pictures for themselves, but
mm,
actually having conversations with a robot that is using artificial intelligence in the background, understands who they're talking to, understands everything about them, their needs and requirements, and then tailors their responses to that person so it's valid for them and
yeah,
personalized to them. I think this is going to help so many people in so many ways. But yes, it's going to make us lazier as a generation too. We're probably going to become less creative because we're going to have these robots doing things for us. So yeah, I think as long as we're using AI as a tool and not replacing our creativity, which I think humans are on this planet because they are so creative, I think that's where we kind of have to make that distinction.
I really love your point of view because you're saying we need to use AI responsibly. It needs to be used as a tool only and not overpower our creativity, our day to day lives in the sense that already experiencing, you're just sitting all the time, right? It's like smoking. You have to move about, you have to exercise to be
But
healthy, right?
imagine being a robot personal trainer.
Yeah,
Like,
but you know, you're doing hard work. So,
yeah, yeah, but as in, like, somebody personally training you in
yeah,
your own home and all of that kind of stuff, like, how brilliant would that be? I mean, I wouldn't have to think about gym memberships, I wouldn't have to think about what time I'm going to be training and all that kind of stuff. There's gonna be somebody probably motivating me and pushing me in the background to actually get healthier, but again, it's what I program into this robot to do, if that makes sense. So if my mindset is not there,
Yeah.
I won't be able to program a robot to do that. So yes, I have to take responsibility, which is why I'm saying like you have to be creative and responsible, but you got to use it as a tool, but not let it replace you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Inevitably, it will be replacing people like a personal trainer, a human personal trainer, or gym membership. Somebody started that business. So it's going to replace a lot of industries, a lot of jobs.
I have
Yeah,
seen something recently where it was replacing like the police force as well. And it was able to do flying kicks and all the rest. So from a martial arts perspective too, like they're getting more and more enhanced. And there is a danger to that as well, because if they go become smarter than humans, then they will inevitably be taking over in terms of which direction we go in,
yeah.
and probably making us question our self-worth at some stage.
Yeah, that's my worry. And that's why I need people kind of take the reins in their own hands and start from now because like you said, it's not going to be in the next 10 years. It's going to be sooner. So you have to brace yourself for all those challenges.
Yeah, it's going to change everything. And I think we just need to remember that right now, I'm not thinking for the future. Right now, AI lacks consciousness. So, true originality, it lacks that. But that's not to say in the future it won't mimic this in some way. So we just have to be mindful of that.
That's insane. Okay, I know the topic of AI is really broad and we could go on, but I want to talk about confidence. Because I feel like people these days, because of the competition around them, there is an element of low self esteem, low confidence, and constant comparison with others. Once someone told me, and we were there at that discussion, that your grandma didn't let you study when you were younger. So tell me about that. I want to know, were you always confident, or is it something that someone can kind of, they say, fake it till you make it? So, what are your thoughts on building confidence?
Okay, so with regards to my grandmother, yes, she definitely did do that. So I'd finished my GCSEs and I was trying to look for colleges and also talking about what I'm going to study going forward. And she said to me, "You don't need to study anymore. That's enough. Women don't study more than this. And you need to start thinking about your future." And my future meant marriage and kids. For her, it was like, "Yeah, you've done your education bit. That's done. That's a tick in the box. Now let's try and find you a husband." So I think that made me want to educate more
The
because I
rebellion.
was like exactly, because I was like, "Right, she wants me to get married. Now come on, we finished our GCSEs at 16. Who is thinking about marriage at that age? Not anybody that I know." So my thing was, okay, so she wants me to stop my education so I can find a husband. But if I keep educating, I don't need to find a husband yet. So so I was more determined than ever to go to the next stage and say, "Right, I'm doing my A levels." So yeah, I did my A levels. And again, at the end of my A levels, she was like, "You don't need to study anymore. That's enough." But I was like, "No." And again, like she was like, "Look, none of the women in the family, just take a look around you. They are working, but they didn't go to like universities and things like that. So you don't need to go to university." And I was like, "No, no, no. If it means I don't have to get married yet, I'm going to university." So it kind of pushed me into this direction of actually educating and actually going to get my degree. So in a way, I'm glad she did that, but it also showed me that I wanted to be responsible for my own decisions. I do know, like obviously being Indian and coming from an Indian family, there are pressures around, getting married by certain ages. And at the time, I was probably the one breaking all of those boundaries in some way, because I actually didn't end up getting married until I was 30. And that was unheard of at that time. The amount of things I had to hear did knock my confidence a little bit, because it was like, "You should have been married by now. You should have been having kids by now. Look at everyone around you. They're getting married." My younger sister got married before me. So again, that kind of made me feel like, "Oh, is there something wrong with me?" And it wasn't that I didn't want to get married at that point. It's just I didn't find the right partner. And I didn't want to just get married for the sake of it. And so
Yeah.
then, yeah, so a lot of people were like, "No," it was almost like you're on the shelf now. You're going to have to start looking at people who are 10 years older than you, or divorced in some way or something like that. almost like you're going to get the rejection pile in some way. And that did knock my confidence a bit because I was like, well, actually, is there something wrong with me? So I'm now questioning myself and all those self-doubts are creeping in. But I knew that I did have a lot of strength in me. So it was like, no, actually, I can get through it all. And I am a believer of God as well, and I am destiny and fate. So I do believe that it's only going to happen at the time it's meant to happen.
Mm,
And even though it did, I did get divorced a few years later, so it didn't work out. But again, I didn't let that knock my confidence because I was like, okay, that's just how it was meant to be. But that's not going to stop me from continuing living my life and doing what I need to. Although it kind of pushed me to focus more on my career at that point then. So yeah, I just kind of let life take me where it needs to. I don't see life as being linear.
mm,
Um, you just go with the flow. And I've always said that to everyone, go with the flow because you just don't know where life's going to take you. You can plan as much as you want, but as we all know, not all of our plans work out. We can have some kind of idea of where we want to go, but destiny will play out in the end. So yeah, so I mean, from leadership perspective, I think I got those skills from when I was younger and my mum was very unwell, so she was in and out of hospital. And so I've got two siblings, and so I think I felt like I was the responsible one. Not just I felt, but I think I was also told this as well, like you have to look after your brother and sister. So I kind of just jumped into that role. And as the elder sibling, I just felt like I was the one who was either going to help them and make them responsible like me, or I was gonna destroy their entire future. So, luckily, they didn't turn out so bad. But yeah, that kind of pushed me into that leadership and responsible well, I wouldn't say leadership, I mean, I don't tell them what to do, but it was more like making them responsible, sort of not what to think, but how to think.
got it. Okay. And just kind of touching on the confidence part, like just coming back to that, do you think having faith in God or that energy around us is important for one to build confidence? How can one build confidence?
I think when it comes to God and confidence, now we have all sorts of people in the world
Yeah.
who believe in something or nothing, or it's quite a contrast. And it doesn't. There's no rule that says that if you don't believe in God, that you're less confident. So I always look at this as when I've sort of been taught in my life, I've been taught that we are creation of God. So we're all part of the same energy. So it's like I think I recently read that imagine God as being the ocean and we're a drop of that ocean and we merge back into the ocean at some stage. So if everyone is a creation of God, then if somebody doesn't believe in God per se, but believes in themselves,
Yeah.
if they are a part of God, then they're believing in something and
Mm,
that helps them build their confidence. So I think everyone has to have something that they believe in, whether it's a person,
mm,
whether it's an energy, whether it's through stories and faith that have built them to what they are today. That kind of builds their confidence. And I think also surrounding yourself with the right people definitely helps to boost your confidence too. So it's a bit of a roundabout answer, but yeah, I think anyone and everyone can have confidence. It's something that you can actually work on. So it's not something you're either built with or not. It's something you can work on in time. And there's different, as I said, in the wheel of life, sometimes you're going to be confident in certain areas of your life and not in others.
mm,
And that's okay because you can work on some things
yeah.
as long as you know what it is you're focusing on or what area needs the work, you can work on it and boost your confidence from that level. But yeah, like I said, I've been a believer of God and I've had faith and I also believe in destiny and we're predestined. So I just go with the flow and touch wood. it hasn't- it's worked for me up until now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a like lovely answer. I do agree with you on that. I want to take it one step deeper and ask you, what is God? Obviously, there are believers and non-believers, but People generally sometimes ask me, you haven't seen God. How do you believe in God? So, what, according to you, is God?
Wow, that's a deep question. Okay. For me, God is like the ultimate source of truth,
Mm,
like love, wisdom, and I, God is in everything. Like if you think about nature,
mm,
like humans can't recreate nature to the degree we've inherited it. It's just if you just think about how perfectly every single thing works in nature. I mean, it blows my mind because like I said, it's such a deep question, but it's like, how can something be created so perfect
yeah,
and it can't be a human who's created it because we call it nature for a reason. But I don't think God is a religious thing. I
God.
think it's like it's an energy, it's a presence around you. Yeah, I mean, it's something that you have to experience.
Yeah,
Um, and sometimes there's moments in your life where you can't explain how and why things have happened. Some people call it coincidence, some people call it luck, some people call it miracles, but actually what is it? And that's something I'm on a journey of discovering myself,
yeah,
but I think it starts with the truth. I think there's, degrees of kindness and compassion and love. And I think that's sort of the universal answer. That makes sense. But it's something I'm still exploring. It's as my experiences grow, my understanding of the concept of God grows too.
yeah. No, no, that's a great answer. You've clarified that it's not religion. It's something to do with religion, right? It's omnipresent. It's universal.
Yeah.
And also, even for myself, I'm not a religious person, and I've always felt that there is this power that's always protecting me,
Yeah.
guiding me. People might call it intuition, people might call it destiny, but I always feel that I'm being protected. If there are certain people that are not good for me, I'm just away from them. So
Yeah.
it's just wonderful. I can't explain it, but every day I think y- you kind of reinforce it in yourself. They say you have to have affirmations every day. You need to be grateful for it, and you throw that energy out in the universe. So, although our human mind can't comprehend that, because I think God is beyond all of that, and it's beyond this universe. There are beyond this galaxy and all of that. It's some. Not, I wouldn't say it, that God has created all of this. We can't fathom what that energy is because I think
It,
our frequency is not
yeah.
aligned.
It's beyond the concept of me and I.
Yeah.
Whatever comes beyond that is
Mm.
God. It's that energy that's beyond that. And that's where it's like we get caught in the web of life. We get caught in, oh my God, that person said something to me.
Yeah.
And we spend hours, days, months, years thinking about that conversation and letting that kind of lead us. But actually, everything is happening the way it's meant to happen. And like I said, I believe in destiny and I believe that we're predestined. So I've got so many examples in my life where I can't explain. Like there's no way of me explaining that. There's science that can go to some degree, but science is also trying to understand and catch up as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, we're not there yet, but it's huge. Like it's this energy, like you said, is omnipresent. It's universal. So
Yeah. Amazing. I think we will do another podcast on this. I think it's really interesting. And we are on our personal journeys to figuring out who we actually are. And I love having these conversations, people's interpretation of different things. It's amazing. It just intrigues me a lot.
I mean, it's nice because it gives you a sense of purpose. It's beyond material world, beyond that material success. It's not about, yeah, have I reached the highest goal in my career? Am I making my millions and all of that? It's something beyond that. And I think that whatever that is or whatever people call that is the thing that kind of gets you through your challenges, uh,
Yeah.
and makes you stronger and essentially your confidence. So it boosts your confidence. So yeah, it's all linked.
Great. So now I'm going to ask you something about your journey and in the entrepreneurial world. You've had multiple businesses and you've founded them. So, as a founder, do you think everybody is meant to be a founder? Is everyone cut out to be like an entrepreneur? My view is no, not everyone can be one. You should actually assess your qualities and see whether you're fit for a job or you can actually found and run a company because it's not an easy job. Like, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the first answer or the simple answer would be no, not everyone is cut out to be a founder or an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
I think that it's a personal thing. There is no right or wrong way to some degree to success. Success for some people is, like I said, like in our parents' generation, success was being able to stay in that job for 25, 30 years and either being promoted. And even if you didn't get promoted, it was just to turn up there every day, do your bit, do your duty, and leave with that paycheck, make sure your family's supported, and all those kind of things. And now, like I said before, like now we're competing with children who essentially are becoming entrepreneurs of some sort or are making their millions faster than we could even imagine.
Yeah.
And that might just be by sharing a video of what they're eating on a daily basis. So success in that side comes in so many different ways, but it does not mean that everyone can become an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Yes, there is almost a push because now we're coming out of, jobs because we're being laid off or being made redundant in some way, shape, or form. And the first thing people are thinking of is, what can I do for myself? Because there is an agenda pushing people to start creating businesses. But I think what you'll find is that not everyone's cut out because it's not an easy journey. And it depends on how resilient you really are. It's something that it's not like money is not going to be your hardest challenge when it comes to a business. There's going to be so many challenges like your idea, how it evolves, how you are as a leader, hiring the right people. All of that kind of stuff can either make or break your business. Some people have a mindset where they need to do everything in a logical like scenario in steps. And we call this almost like working in a waterfall versus an agile way. So if you work in a waterfall, which is like the project management that most people are used to, where there is an entire plan for over a year or a few years of building a product and launching it to market, and you kind of follow that plan to a T before, and so your product's going to launch in like a year or two, and it's going to be the perfect product. But as we've seen, the landscape is changing so fast that 1 or 2 years is the equivalent of nearly 10, 20 years now. So you have to work faster. And so we try and work in an agile way. It's like, don't try and build everything first. Launch something, the basic, the bare minimum you need. Um, Launch that to market first. Just make sure there's actual need for your product. Everyone can come up with ideas, but taking them through and executing on those ideas is a whole nother journey. And you'll find yourself, if you are really passionate about something, if you then make a business out of it, you're going to be further away from what you love doing because you're now having to manage the entire business, which means the people, the processes, the technology, everything. And if it was something you were just doing as a side hustle, you'll find you're far removed from that now. And not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
It's not something for everyone, but you have to be resilient in this business because businesses are moving rapidly right now. People are launching products faster than ever. We saw in COVID, a lot of people who lost their jobs during COVID started side hustles, whether it was coaching, whether it was, some kind of side hustle they were doing and they wanted to turn that into a business. So, but not every business is successful. Like we hear in the startup world, I don't know the figures off the top of my head, but let's just say 90% is close to that figure.
Mm,
90% of startups fail. And again, it's not a bad thing to fail because every failure is a lesson and you learn from that. So it just means you'll avoid making that mistake again. It is
yeah,
important to go through failure and go through rejection because that builds you up as a person as long as you focus forward and not backwards. As long as you're looking for the solution rather than focusing just on the problem. And again, not everyone's mind is built that way or they've not been taught that way or it's just they're not comfortable with doing something like that. I know a lot of people who would rather just work for somebody and not have the headache of having to work 24 hours around the clock. When you're doing your own business, it's you're working constantly. There's no 9 to 5 in this anymore. So,
yeah,
yeah, so it's all dependent how it all depends on how you're built. So that's why I don't think it's for everyone. It is hard work. You have to know how to be flexible, to pivot, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's not for somebody who's got a very structured way of working or a fixed mindset. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I agree with that because even my dad, he's a businessman and he's been all his life. And growing up, I've always seen there are no fixed hours. There are times when he's doing really well. There are times throughout life we've seen the ups and downs. And I think not just the founder, but their family, they all have to kind of, they are of that mindset that it's okay to fail. It's okay or not to always have a consistent salary or earning coming your way every month. And there will be times, tough times. So it actually teaches you a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
They say like the best people or the best entrepreneurs are the ones who've been through hardships. Because now they are even more resilient and much stronger. They've learned from their mistakes and they're less likely to make those mistakes again. So, yeah, so I would always say fail fast and keep moving.
That's amazing. Um, okay. And if you had to kind of give your top three lessons to somebody who wants to found a business, startup, what would that be? Those three top lessons, if you were to give.
So, I think resilience is key. Like for a founder, you have to have resilience. You have to know how to persevere because ideas are going to evolve. But yeah, perseverance essentially is going to be the thing that helps you win. So, yeah, so I think that right, resilience is probably more important than having the perfect idea. So yeah, so that's probably number 1. Number 2 is that money isn't, like I said, the hardest part, it's the people. The people you're going to be hiring, the leadership within your organization, those are gonna be the things that are gonna make or break your business. So that's really important. And also if you're only in it for the money, you're not gonna last.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you're going to see, like you said, there's going to be days where, you're not going to be doing so great. And there's going to be days where you're going to be absolutely flourishing. But it's knowing that you're not going to be stuck in the same place all the time so that the resilience side of it kicks in again. But if it's just about the money, you're going to panic every time the money's not there. So it's how do you overcome that and then make sure you understand it is a roller coaster. It's not an easy journey but as long as you know that the idea is solving a problem that's really out there, that should keep pushing you to do more and do better.
Amazing. Thanks for that.
Right.
And with this, it's the end of our conversation. I had a fabulous time and I was so looking forward to it. I think we delayed it a bit as well, but I super, super glad that we did this today. And thank you so, so much right from the bottom of my heart here. I want to thank you. Wait,
Well,
any last thoughts before we conclude this?
thank you very much for having me. It's been a great discussion. Yeah, I mean, I just think, keep going. Life is going to be challenging. It's going to be fun. It's going to be, there's going to be all sorts of emotions that are going to come out at different parts of your life. You're going to be confident in certain areas and not in others, all at the same time. There's no perfect book that's written that says, this is the way you navigate life. But I think it's remembering that you are on a journey and your journey is unique. I mean, I'm not going to go into the depths of this conversation, but it is something that you are evolving as a person yourself. So it's sometimes it's easy to look at other people and think they are doing amazing compared to where you are at certain points in your life. But you've got to remember that everything happens for a reason and you've just got to keep going. You've just got to believe that, as we know, time doesn't stand still. Things will move. So your hardships will become easier over time, and you just keep focusing forward. And that's probably my message for everyone.
Amazing. Thank you. And to our viewers, Amrit is the strongest person I know. She's been through loads and loads of challenges and she just comes out like a phoenix. I wish you all the best, Amrit, and I think you will do wonders. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you so
watching
much.
and take care.
Bye. Bye.